right, all right. We're back at the podcast studio today, and we're actually talking to someone from North Dakota. We have Jesse Forster on from Secure Payments, and welcome, Jesse. How are you today?
Thank you for having me, Tom. I'm great. I'm excited to be here. I've been watching Grit Won't Quit for a long time now and kind of feel like a bit of a celebrity for being asked to be on here. Thank you for
Absolutely,
having
and
me.
you dress sharp, so you look good. You fit the part. So again, North Dakota and New Jersey, not very close to each other, but we met each other a few years back when you were at B&G, and we had a great working relationship there, and you continue to do great work. So I thought it was a good opportunity to get you on. And I think that for the listeners today of Grit Won't Quit, my thought process was the fact of referral business in a world of 2024, but even better than that, like when we've never physically met each other face to face, in person, shook hands, but we've done a lot of business. We've referred a lot of business back and forth to each other. Your partners in crime, Brady and Dan and everybody like that has done, we've done business with all together and through referrals of each other's. But I thought that, the referral and relationship business is what I thought would be a good segue for our listeners today.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've never met in person, but we've known each other for years and have done a ton of business together. And we were referred together. I believe Dan Austin put us together, who's a mentor of mine and a fellow web developer. And he connected us years ago. And I think that having a good, referral relationship with people or a trusted relationship, it really makes business go, right? When
Mm-hmm.
you can work with somebody you know and trust, who's been referred over by somebody else who you know and trust, you feel like your reputation is guarded and everyone has some skin in the game. So I've had an incredible working relationship with you over the years, even as it has evolved into other things. We've connected each other with other people, and now we have this huge network of trusted advisors. So when we have people who need help, we know who to go to.
Sure. What's funny is just this past week, somebody that was referred to me by B&G and Adrian was a company in California, and they, we did their web work for them a couple of years back, and then they just said to me recently, one of our clients has some minor WordPress upgrades and updates to be done, and we don't do that business. They're an IT company. But they had said to me, "Can you speak to our client in California?" So that guy, that painting company's in Burbank, California, and we've been in touch with them to try to get their WordPress updates done and get them, moving along in the right direction. So just the power of that relationship, and I think that that's really powerful in the sense that, like, between B&G and Wingman, none of us have actually met face to face, but yet we've done a lot together. And Brady, Dan, for Brady, we just recently did 2 websites for him for some things that he's involved with. Last year we did another project for Dan for something in the crypto space. So it's cool that we again met through a relationship. Shout out to Jeff Feller, who's the one who originally connected B&G and Wingman together, and then from there we've kind of done a lot of projects together.
Right. And we mentioned this the other day when we were talking, as business people, our reputation is everything, right? And having somebody to refer business over that is going to be well taken care of, will edify you as a vendor, only comes back in droves, I feel.
Totally.
We talked about the fact that it's not always the most important thing to do the business yourself. It's the most important thing to take care of your customer and align them with the right resources. And that business always comes back. To your point before, you send somebody out from California, now they're sending business back to you. And it's all over you just trusting one of your partners and trusting somebody who maybe does something a little bit different or better or in the right proximity to that customer.
Absolutely. My biggest thing, and you're going to hear it more and more in 2024 and beyond, is the customer experience. I want to deliver the best customer experience as the owner of Wingman, as the day-to-day guy at Wingman. I want to provide the best customer experience, and that doesn't mean that every customer talks to me. It doesn't mean that we as Wingman do every job, but my job is to find the right resource if it's not at Wingman, or find the right account manager or project manager or person on the Wingman team to work with the client. Like, I want to provide exceptional service. So right now we're on a podcast probably for the next 30 minutes. So I'm not available to take calls or emails or texts for the next 30 minutes. But at the same time, if we've done our job at Wingman right, when we've guided our customers who and where they should call if they have something they need done, or if they have an issue, or if they just need to speak to someone, it's my job as the leader of Wingman to make sure that they have that right person to connect and channel their questions to. So the same thing goes with our partners. If we're going to refer a XYZ vendor, an IT vendor, a credit card vendor, a print vendor, a sign vendor, whatever the case may be. One, we have to validate and feel that we would do business with them. If we're not going to do business with them, I have no interest in referring business out on my behalf. Again, if I don't feel that as the sign company that they can get the job done at my own building, well, I'm never going to give them to somebody that's a client of mine, because again, it's my reputation on the line at the end of the day. At the end of the day, they're going to come back and say, Wingman or Tom gave me a terrible referral, or that guy was awful, blah blah blah. And again, I have to stand behind the people that we're recommending.
Well said. And to take that a little further, anytime you deal with issues, there's always issues that come up here or there. And if you have a trusted advisor who is going to do the right thing and fix the problem if problems arise, that's the most important part of this, right?
Problems will arise in business. There is no, if everything just went so smoothly and everything just happened the way it was supposed to be, half of us wouldn't have jobs. But again, to your point, like, you have to, I hate when I have an issue and a vendor ghosts me or dodges me or doesn't answer my calls, or just kind of plays the like the shell game with you. You're like, I just need to be able to, again, if I have a problem, I need to be able to call someone to resolve it, because at the end of the day, it's my name. If I have a job that doesn't go well, I'm going to have to fulfill on that, because they're my client. The buck stops with me. I mean, it doesn't continue on. It's not like I could say, oh, sorry that the sign company, will just pick on sign company today, messed up. Again, I gave you the referral. I told you to use you. And again, sometimes they, some of these people, end up saying to me, well, we'll sign the deal through you and you just help us get it done. And, we love to do that. We want to be the general contractor for these businesses and help them with all their marketing, web, technology needs. But at the same time, we have to vet our process. And, again, that's one thing Dave is excellent at on our team is, vetting out contractors and vendors for us, so that we don't put ourselves, we don't want the egg on our face. And at the end of the day, you can't provide a great customer experience if there's egg on your face.
One of the things that really was attractive when we first started working together through BNG, and we refer website businesses over to you, is you did an incredible job of discovery, and what you're good at and what you're not good at. So there had been some occasions where we bring you an opportunity. You said, hey, listen, this is a little outside of the scope of what I normally do. Here's where you need to go. And it was so nice having somebody like you in our corner who would, rather than trying to gobble up all the profits and sell every deal possible, you'd actually measure fitness for partnership before you even got into the quoting and looking into the opportunity. So it was nice knowing that we could bring somebody to you, for example, and you may say, hey, this isn't a good fit for us, but I know somebody that I trust that you can use. And I think that's like kind of the key to all of this and the user experiences. It's not always about you, it's about the customer and what can we do, to elevate them and to provide them with the best service and support possible.
Listen, we learned that over time. There were times we took jobs that, we weren't the best fit for. Looking back, again, this year, this April, we're going to turn 15. The company's been around, started at, the kitchen table and has kind of just grown since. But the idea is that over 15 years, you learn some things along the way, and you learn where you don't want to be. And, there's also times where you learn you need a tighter contract, or you need, a handshake's good enough. I think my job, taking on a lot of the initial intake calls to find out where people have pain points and how they're looking for Wingman or Wingman and Company to help them, is to understand what they really need. And I always say you have 2 ears and one mouth, so you better listen twice as much, because the customer or the lead or the prospective business is they tell you a lot of the things that you need to know. And sometimes
Mhm.
people get overzealous, and I think that happens a lot. You
It
know,
happens a lot.
it happens a lot, especially, again, as the owner of the company. I think that I know that as the owner of the company, I can see where things can go awry, and I can
Mhm.
hear the people tell me. As a sales rep, if you're just a sales representative or business development, again, you want
You're
to get the
hungry.
commission. You're hungry. It's not about, so much about, well, is this going to be good business for the company? Some of these sales reps are just caring about their own best interest. And listen, I get that and I understand that, and I never want to take a dollar out of anyone's pocket on my own
Mhm.
team or any referral business. But at the same time, if it's going to cause, you don't make money if you charge 100 and it costs you 110 to do. You don't make
Mhm.
money. So that game doesn't last long. So again, I think at my organization, I try to train and I try to show people, like, hey, it's not that we didn't take this opportunity, or it's not that we didn't do this because we didn't want to do it, or because it's, we're scared of it. We just don't
Mhm.
think, if it doesn't fit our kind of mold right now, it's not a good opportunity. I think the sooner that you kind of hone in on the niches that you're good at, the better the business happens. And yeah,
Mhm.
to your point, you leave some dollars on the table, but net, I think you're in a better position in the long term.
Mhm.
We play for 5 years from now. We're playing for 10 years from now. I'm not playing for today. I Listen. We have to make
Yes.
sure our cash flow is running to make sure that everybody gets paid and we have things are running smoothly. But at the end of the day, my thought process isn't for today. It's, let's look at 5 to 10 years from now. In 5 to 10 years, it'll be a good opportunity for, an early retirement, early exit. But
There you go.
I think that that's kind of my thought process of doing it right today for the future. And I think, again, our business was built 100% on referrals, repeat, and existing customers, happy with our service and telling their friends and family.
Mhm. And I think, to your point, short-sightedness is one of the biggest blockers to progress.
Mm-hmm.
The way you set your business up may have not been the fastest rocket ship out there, but I tell you what, it's a really great locomotive and it's gaining steam, and you can tell that you've built your business correctly. And I think that we've all learned, especially if you've been selling for a long time, we've learned from those mistakes. We've been overzealous. We've been trying to, get the deal done, grow the business, get that check in the mail. But I feel like we've all learned from that. When you try to force a deal across the finish line that's not a fit, you end up spending way more in time and energy and support. And at the end of it, I feel like we could both cherry pick a couple of opportunities that, yeah, that was really painful, right? We ended up losing, twice as much as we made, and it took all of our team, so much more time to try to fix the issues. And it's really important to be good stewards to the sales reps who are coming up, to teach them that, right? Crawl, walk, run, so we don't stand on any landmines. And that'll help you in the long run. And over time, your trajectory will be a lot more if you pick good businesses to work with and make good, healthy deals.
Totally, and I think you nailed it. I think you also have to find like-minded people. Again, not every deal you can do, you can say, "Oh, I want to find." You find like-minded people, but when you work with
Mhm.
like-minded people that have the same goals, same thought process, same values,
Mhm.
it's easier. It's easier to do business with it, and again, it's easier to refer. I know that we have very similar goals and value
Mhm.
systems, so I know it's very easy to send a referral to you, and know that, again, if there's a problem, that you're going to pick up the phone, you're going to call them. You know that if you do this, you're going to, if they ask you this, you're going to be able to answer.
Mhm.
I never thought, go back years ago, back to when we started. I always wanted to do the right thing, but I didn't ever thought how much the word integrity plays into
Yeah.
business. And it's an integral part of succeeding and getting better every day. And you always want to have the best foot forward. You always want to do right by the customer. You always want to
Mhm.
make sure that stuff's happening. And I think that integrity plays a big part. And I think when you go back to your BNG's early days, I mean, I think that's the same thing.
Yep.
You had young
In
guys
fact, it
that
was
were
written on our
hustling.
building. Yeah. It's part of our core values, and I think that's important for businesses to have core values as that lighthouse so they can look to them and measure everything against it. We had 5 core values at BNG, and integrity was one of them. Excellence was another. And every decision, every business decision we made was based on our core values and if this was a fit. And
How
it's
did those
funny.
5 values come up? Like, how did you guys decide on them? Was it a group effort, or was it just something at the
So
top?
the founders got together and decided, who are we going to be, right, as a company, especially in the payment processing space. You know how it works. It's kind of a seedy, underbelly, Wild West, where there's a lot of gunslingers and thieves and
Oh, it's
crooks out there.
it's the wild,
So
wild west, one hundred
when
percent.
we got in there, we said we're going to be the opposite of that, because people, to your point, are looking for a better experience now. I think that I'm almost 40 years old, and guys in my generation remember, our parents growing up, and when we were young, they would have one car dealership to go to, they would have one hardware store to go to, and they may not have the selection, but they're always going to take good care of you. And
Mm-hmm.
those are the people who would tell you where else to go. And then big box came along, and selection and price skyrocketed, which was a good thing at first, but we've realized that we don't have the same user experience that we once had, and I think we're craving that again. Our generation is really wanting to get back to that kind of core group of people who you can trust, who you know is going to take care of you. And one of the things I find really funny is that as I get older, I start to think about some of the things that my dad taught me.
Mm-hmm.
And as a teenager, I'd roll my eyes and say, "Whatever, Dad." But now, as an adult, I'm starting to kind of use some of the adages that he used to talk to me about, and they're all the same, and they're exactly what we were talking about. My dad says there's 2 rules to business, right? The first rule of business is to know what business you're in and stick to it, and the second rule of business is surround yourself with people who can do the stuff that you can't and use them,
He nailed it. I
right?
mean, you can't
Nailed
say
it.
it better than that. And again, that's what we've
Yep.
talked about for the first couple minutes here. Like, I think that he nailed it. And I think everybody wants to be an expert, but yet no one wants to really learn and be the expert. So therefore,
Mhm.
everybody wants to, make a cut on here and add in this here. But when you look at it, it's all great if you can fulfill it and stand behind it, trust it, and again, if you
Mhm.
get yourself into a spot, you have to be able to answer some questions. So either you need a great team behind you, or don't be involved in some of the things that everybody wants to get involved in. I think you
Mhm.
can do it if you're ready to take it on, but I don't think a lot of people have the grit and hustle to start learning new things,
100%.
especially as they get older and especially as they have successful businesses. Everybody thinks the second and third business is just a walk in the park because they did it at the first business. But what I think a lot of entrepreneurs forget about is how much they worked and how hard they did, what they had to do to get that first business off the ground. And everybody's just looking at the glory days of, oh, look, I was able to get to a 7-figure business, an 8-figure business. But they don't remember all the hard work and knocking on doors and doing whatever it took to get it done. And they just remember the 10 years later, 12 years later, and their
Mhm.
in their success. And a lot of guys, a lot of people I know hustled from the bottom up. They were scrappy. They didn't have a huge budget to do things. They just got it done. And I think when you get to the second and third business, you forget about those things. But you also,
Mhm.
a lot of these guys aren't ready to write the checks that you need to do to make them successful.
Well, that 10,000 hours adage rings
Mm-hmm.
true, right? There's no shortcuts to being an expert. You have to put in the time, you have to get kicked in the teeth, you have to keep going back. And to your point, you have to have the grit and hustle to make it. I think one of the things that I think about often is nobody really told me what success was going to be like. In my mind, success was I hustle hard for 10 years and then I coast off into the sunset.
How's that going?
And the reality is, success really looks like me working twice as hard as everyone around me being hyper accountable down to the most, the most minute detail, working harder than I've ever worked before, but being able to handle that because of the things and because of the grit and because of the struggle that I've been through. So, the Marines say you got to embrace the suck, lean into the suck,
Mm-hmm.
because the suck is what teaches you the grit and the drive and if you're sitting next to somebody else knowing that you work twice as hard to get there, that gives you the confidence to persevere.
Yep, and I
And I
think
think
I think success is different to everybody. Like, there's some people that, success is a dollar amount. Some people it's a family value amount. Some people it's a combination of the both. Some people it's
Mhm.
being able to donate to nonprofits or their church or place of worship. So I think success is different to everybody, but I think as
Mhm.
time goes on, you have to figure out what that success is for you and really hone into it and and dial into it, because that's what's important. I think,
Hmm.
even when I look at my trajectory and where I want to go, and people ask me all the time, oh, you have multiple businesses. Again, my goal is to provide that awesome customer experience across
Hmm.
any business I'm involved in. And again, that's part of like my playbook. My playbook is that you're going to donate back to the community. We have the toy drives and the food drives. That's part of my playbook. And like, any
Hmm.
company I get involved with, and even some companies that hire me to do consulting for, again, that the community is a part of it, because to me, it's where you
Hmm.
work and live. And if the people aren't that are in your community aren't well taken care of, you're gonna have different problems. So I've
Hmm.
always said that for I would say the last 10 years I've been talking about this, and people have heard me say it. But I think that everybody has to figure out what it is that's important to them, and then really start to hone in on that. And to your point, is work double as hard. If
Hmm.
you see people walking in right at 8:30 or 9 o'clock when their shift starts, that's hard, because you're walking in right when it starts. Like, to me, I'm a 7:30 guy. I'm a 7:45 guy, the
Yep.
latest. I want to be at my desk. I want to have kind of went through all my email. I'm checking email all the time, but I want to be ready and prepared for when the day starts. I don't want to be sneaking in right at the bell. But again, if you played sports as a kid, or you did anything competitive, you went to practice. You had a
Hmm.
catch in the backyard with your brother, your father, or somebody else, another family member. You played in the street. So, like, to me, this whole thing of just sneaking in right at the bell and walking out like it's the Flintstones with the yabba dabba do at the end of the day. Like, you're never going to get better at that. You're never going to
Yep.
become an all-star. So if not becoming an all-star is something that's something in people's value system, that's fine. But if you want to be that all-star, and you want to be that A-plus player, and you want to be the guy that people go to when there's a promotion on board, you have to be able to do the work, and you have to be able to put the time in. And again, I think people, I don't know where people got lost on the, I only work this amount of hours. I only work 9 to 5. But like, when they were playing competitive sports, they knew they had practice 3 days a week. Like, and then that would
Yep.
never shocked anybody, or never anyone was never really kind of caught off guard with that. So I don't know where we've gone wrong, but I think that when you look at, if you want to be a work all-star, that's something that you have to figure out, because otherwise people are going to pass you by.
That's why I like to hire athletes as sales reps, because I know that they've been through it, they've put in work, they know what it means to work hard. And let me tell you a little secret: success is not the money, right? You know that. A lot of times young sales professionals have dollar signs in their eyes, and that's all they focus on. And when I bring a new sales guy in, I often get the questions of, what books should I read? What podcast should I listen to? I want to be the best sales guy in the world. What should I do? And what I tell them is, find the best sales guy around you and do what he or she does. If they get in at 7:30, you be in at 7. If they leave at 6, you leave at 6:30, and that's how you get there,
You
right?
you
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 follow the
nailed
guy
it.
around who's the best,
I
and
can't
that's
I,
it.
I
There's
can't
no
wait till this
secret to
one
this.
airs, because there's so many good nuggets in there. And it's so easy. Like, when people say to you,
It's
"How do
not
you
rocket
do it?"
science.
Like, I have not. All I do is I work very hard, but like, it all starts to come together in that regard. Like, there's no magic secret formula. Oh,
Mhm.
if you do this, you're going to be successful. There's not. There's formulas. Work hard, and if you watch, we've probably produced, I don't know, 40 videos so far on podcasts, and it's come up multiple times.
It's a common theme.
Entrepreneurs are wired differently. They understand, and again, they're in a world where, being, going out of business for an entrepreneur, the stats are racked against them, and they still take the bet. So they're they're
Mhm.
they're better. They're gamblers in their own way, when you think about it. But at the same time, it's because they understand that, hard work, persistence, you know courage, not being able to
Mhm.
get knocked on you, and you're behind and getting up again. That's part of the challenge, part of the struggle, and part of the hustle of it all. So I mean, it makes
Mhm.
perfect sense. That's great advice you gave.
Oftentimes you see successful, entrepreneurs were the weird kid growing up, we're the different kid growing up, we're the kid who was too energetic and too loud and too all over the place. And I think that we've taught our children that everyone needs to be the same,
No,
right?
yeah.
And there's no such thing as flying below the radar and being like everyone else and being hyper successful. They're two completely different things. And I think that might be where we went wrong a little bit here, is we're teaching our children that you should be like everyone else. We're teaching our children, be quiet, sit still, don't do this. That's what drives us. I was the kid who was bouncing off the walls all the time. And, my parents had to send me outside to run around the house 10 times to settle down. Well, that's driven me, and that's now my superpower, right?
That's awesome.
I've used the things that people told me was bad and wrong to be successful. And I've broken the mold. And one of the things I talk about often is, flying below the radar does not work. You have to be undeniable. You have to
Hmm.
be undeniable, and don't let people tell you otherwise. If you're undeniable and other people are speaking about you too, and not just you, that's where you start to gain some traction and momentum. Be different, be undeniable, be yourself. Don't be like everybody else. Don't follow the playbooks. Don't try to copy what somebody else is doing. Find what you're good at and stick to it.
What do your parents think now with you being successful, being in your, running your own kind of sales organization of all that running around time as a kid?
I think my dad didn't understand it for the longest time. So, truth be told, my dad built a very successful construction company, garage door company,
Uh-huh.
and he owned it for 30 years. The guy was a college dropout. He did the different thing, right? He dropped out of college, he started a business. Everyone told him he was crazy, and he built a wildly successful business over 30 years. And he wanted me to take over. And at the time, I thought those were too big of shoes to fill. I had imposter syndrome and didn't believe in myself and said, Dad, I don't want to take this over and run it into the ground. So I went my own path. And that not only hurt, but confused my dad, right? Where he built this empire for his son to walk in, but I wanted to earn it. And at the time, I didn't want to be handed something. And I don't think I really understood what I wanted at the time, but looking back on it, I wanted to forge my own path. And I wanted to show my parents, you gave me these skills, and this is what I did with it. And now that I've kind of gone through the ringer, and I've gotten kicked in the teeth, and I've had terrible jobs that I hated, and I've had jobs where I've lost a lot of money, and jobs that I've made a lot of money, and jobs that I was miserable and happy. Now, looking back on it all and where I'm at today, my parents couldn't be more excited and happy for me. He really gets it now. And I did what he did. I broke the mold. I did the different thing. And I was undeniable. And because of that, have made a good life for myself. And I'm not the most successful person in the world, but I have 6 children and an amazing wife. And I live in an awesome community. And I'm happy, and I'm surrounded with people like you. And to me, I feel successful.
That is success. That's the definition of success. So I think
Yep.
again, since I've known you, I think you're a great guy. I think you do the right thing. You make sure that people are happy. And it sounds like I would want to bring you in for sale, intake of new sales guys so that you could tell
Hey,
them the
man.
methods. I mean, when you think about it, it's so simple, but yet so hard. Um,
It's so hard.
uh,
It's so hard to just to like cut the BS, right?
yep.
And just shed that away and just be undeniable. And
So
right back at you, Tom.
I love the undeniable. I'm going to steal that from you. I'm sorry to say. I'm going to let you know
It's
right up
okay.
front. But
I stole it from somebody else, I'm sure.
all right, perfect. I know that we're getting ready to wrap up, and this was a great conversation. I'm so
Thanks,
happy that
Tom.
we got you on. I wish we would have got you on earlier because this was a great
I
a
could have
great
kept going
chat.
for hours.
And
Yeah, me too.
we'll, listen. Let me get through the backlog of people, and then I'll get you on for a round two, and we could talk more, in depth about this because I think it was great. So as we wrap up, just do me a favor. Let the audience know how they can connect and find you. If it's on your website, if it's on your social medias, or if you want to get communicated, contacted via the phone. Let people know how they can get in touch with you.
Absolutely. You can contact me on LinkedIn. My name is Jesse Forster. Work for Secure Payments. If you want to find us online, it's securepayments with an S at the end.com. We'd love to talk to you about your PCI compliance and business payment security, and help your business grow and scale and be efficient.
Sounds great. Well, you have yourself a great weekend. It was a pleasure to speak with you, and I look forward to continuing to do business together.
Pleasure is mine, Tom. This is great. And just a shameless shout out for you again. I absolutely love watching your growth. I'm addicted to your podcasts. They're all over. And make sure you watch them.
Awesome. I appreciate that. Thank you for the kind words, and I'll talk to you soon.